7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Sam here, United People's TV. It's Thursday morning. We played Leeds last night, a 2-2 draw, a frantic 2-2 draw. That's what I called it in my match reaction. We're going to be speaking about it as a community here this morning, as we always do. And as you can see from the headline down there, as you can see from the thumbnail, Qatari talks have been confirmed. There is interest in buying Manchester United. But what I would say is there is a little bit of confusion, certainly on my part, as to where this Qatari interest is coming from in Qatar, because I'll run through it later in the show. It's not the first talking point. We're going to be running through the game against Leeds, talking about those two early goals we conceded, the frustration. Ten Hag, I said Ten Hag would be angry in my match reaction. He literally said, I'm very angry in his post-match comments. So I was pretty spot on about that. And it's not too hard to, well, it was obvious. Ten Hag was going to be pissed off at how United started, not only the first half, but the second half as well, repeating the mistakes. We'll run through that. We'll speak about Rashford. We'll speak about Sancho. We'll speak about Fred, other individuals. You can let me know who you want to talk about in the comments. And I will run through the latest on the sale of Manchester United after updates from James Ducker from the Telegraph, Martyn Ziegler from the Times, Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail as well, Rob Harris from Sky News, little nugget from Adam Crafton as well. It's a busy show. It's always a busy show, but that's what happens when so many things are going on at your football club. Who's down here in the comments? Let me have a look. Joanne, I can see you there. Sean, good morning to you. Carl Dale watching, as always, from New Zealand. John, Stu, Room and Nathan, Charlie, Fatty, Darren, Vicky, good morning to you. Al, I can see you there. And you're here, as always, Daisy, Paula, Josh, T, Stuart. Morning to you. Who's on Facebook? We've got Gwynfor. Look at that. Getting that sweet Welsh name in. Man, there's so many consonants in Wales. Anderson, good morning to you. And one more over there. We've got James Dockery watching on YouTube and Mark Fossey over on Facebook. But look, good morning to everybody. What did you think about the game last night then? Right? That's the first thing we've got to talk about. Games coming thick and fast, as is the case. Games every 3 days. And that pretty much, that was kind of how I felt for watching a lot of that game yesterday. It was frantic. I didn't expect a new, what do you call it, a new manager bounce. They haven't got a new manager in. I expected Leeds to be sort of down and out. They weren't down and out at all. It was probably the best. Like Leeds have won two games in the last 17 in the Premier League. I think they've lost the last 7 in a row in the Premier League. That's why Jesse Marsch got sacked. And I don't particularly think it was a new manager bounce. It was we've just got rid of the old manager bounce. That's the sort of bounce it was. I kind of semi-compared it to when we sacked Mourinho and Solskjaer came in. And I think we won like 5-1 the next game. And I think it was Cardiff. It was fucking disappointing to concede within a minute in the first half. Right. That effectively, I think I said in my match reaction as well. We all as fans, right? Maybe not all of us, but the majority of us went into that game. We had the predictions here yesterday. 4-0, 4-1, 5-1. I wanted us to humiliate Leeds. I thought take advantage of the fact that they are in such bad form. They're in the relegation zone. Let's go for it. And I think the players started like that. The players did not expect Leeds to come out like a jack in the box. And that's what they did, right? Leeds, I mean, look, a doubleheader against United coming to Old Trafford. It's a huge game for them. And they played like it. And they deserved that goal. And they deserved the goal to start the second half. But from a positive perspective, there was a fantastic turnaround. I'll speak about Ten Hag's comments in a little bit, but I want to focus on the importance of this lad, right? Up until the point where Jadon Sancho came on, it was Sancho who came on for Weghorst, and was it Pellistri, I think, who came on for Garnacho. I'll speak about Garnacho and Weghorst in a little bit later in the show. But it was certainly the point where the game changed. Because Man United all of a sudden had a little bit more dynamism across all of our front three. That wasn't a game that suited Weghorst. I mean, we can say that with Captain Hindsight looking into that now, but maybe Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag should have been a little bit more aware of that. The way that Leeds were going to play against us. The game was moving a little bit too fast for Weghorst. So when Sancho came on, man, it was brilliant to see him score that goal. This is what he said about the goal after the game. He said, "Look, I cannot tell you how much I've missed this feeling. The team showed great character to stay in the game, and we go again at the weekend." And for everybody watching Sancho there, it was brilliant. It really was brilliant. And he made such a difference straight away. And I tell you what, I'm going to speak about it in my starting 11 prediction for the game against Leeds on Sunday. But spoiler, Marcus Rashford's got to play through the middle. With Anthony Martial out, and against teams like this, the way that Leeds play there, Weghorst isn't the right player for that situation. I don't think Weghorst is going to be starting for Manchester United many games next season if he does stay. I think he's going to be there as an option that when we need a player like Weghorst, we use him. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think he's a striker version of Marouane Fellaini in that sense. But Jadon Sancho coming on, we look so much better. So much more threatening across the front three. And Pellistri as well. He added something. His first, I think that's his Premier League debut for Manchester United. Ten Hag promised that he was going to get more minutes. But I want to focus on Jadon Sancho and what Ten Hag said about Jadon Sancho, right? He said, "I'm really happy he is in the right direction. I hope he can keep his momentum going, and I'm sure it will strengthen him and motivate him even more. He is a brilliant footballer, and if he can invest in the right levels, he can be outstanding. We now have a team that can play in the opponent's half, and he likes that. He can play in tight areas. It's in his own hands. And so if he wants, he can do. And in this team, it is great to play. I mean, it's great to see. I really enjoy seeing him play the way he did with so much confidence, the way he did with so much belief." And that's exactly how Jadon Sancho played yesterday. Oh, I realized I went off screen there for a second, pressed the wrong button. Whoops. Anyway, I really, really enjoyed watching Jadon Sancho yesterday. And I think it goes to show that he's ready to start in the Premier. Look, Leeds was, as I said, that game was absolutely wild. In that first half, I think we had maybe 10, 11 shots. Garnacho had a couple of clear-cut opportunities, in my opinion. I think he should have done a little bit better, but I have to say that, what's his name? Ayling. I think after the first 10, 15 minutes, when it looks like Garnacho was causing him problems, he knew that he just had to get tight to Garnacho. Basically, ruffle his feathers a little bit. On Garnacho, this is where youthful exuberance, this is where it can be used as a weakness of a player. Let's speak about Garnacho a little bit before I head back to Erik Ten Hag, because I've seen some people trying to slag and slate Garnacho. It's like, I mean, are you fucking for real? The kid's had a fantastic breakthrough season, but he's a kid. And that youthful exuberance, like the sort of the naivety of youth, is what makes it so exciting to watch a young player break through, because they don't really care. They don't have any sort of trepidation, and they just fly at defenses, and that's what makes them so exciting when they break through. And that's been one of Garnacho's biggest strengths so far. But yesterday, against, as I said, Ayling was Leeds' captain. He knew what to do against Garnacho after watching him for like 10, 15 minutes. And he knew full well that if he went a little bit close to him, stuck his leg in, maybe stuck his elbow in, it worked against Garnacho. And then Garnacho started to get a little bit pissed off and a little bit flustered. And kind of from that point on, Leeds kind of quelled that Garnacho threat. Now, look, you're saying that you need to see more runs from Garnacho. Are you absolutely mad? That's all Garnacho does. It's constant runs with him. But it doesn't always have to be constant runs. So it's quite literally the complete opposite of that. Garnacho is an incredible player with the ball at his feet. So direct, so great. But I think there was one point yesterday, like for example, when Garnacho rounded the goalkeeper. And by the way, again, it's not... Had Garnacho gone there, this is the thing about football and going down. If Garnacho goes down there, the keeper gets sent off. Game, set, match. Garnacho, the Leeds keeper is off, but Garnacho stays on his feet. And at that point, you know, when he cut back inside and then decided to take a shot, if he had just head up, Weghorst was there in acres of space in the middle of the box, and he probably buries it. Garnacho had a fantastic breakthrough season, but I tell you what, I think now is the time when we get this bad boy back in the starting 11. And I think we really missed Anthony yesterday. Maybe not really missed Anthony, but I think we missed Anthony. We massively played like a team in transition yesterday. Not a team in transition, sort of like in between the stages. I mean, a team who, without Casemiro and without Eriksen, played better in transition than we did with controlling the ball. We didn't control the ball yesterday at all. When we were playing well, we were getting the ball up to Sancho or up to Rashford as quickly as possible. And that's where our threat came from. Sancho, then the overlapping, sure. But without Casemiro and Eriksen, we didn't really have the confidence in midfield because Leeds were really squeezing. They played a good tactic. I thought Sabitzer did okay, but because of how Leeds played in that midfield, there was no space for us to play through it. We had to get it wide as much as possible. So we massively missed Casemiro and Eriksen. And lo and behold, we don't have the depth to replace them. Now, speaking after the game, right, as I said, absolutely, Erik ten Hag was going to be pissed off. And this is what he said. I am so angry that we started a derby in this way. I want to play Leeds right now, immediately. But I have to wait. My players are the same. We have to save our energy and make sure we are ready for Sunday. And this is what he said at halftime. He goes, guys, come on. You have to take care in the second half will be the same. Make sure you were ready. And we were not. I was really disappointed with conceding straight after halftime. And I personally think the conceding at the start of the second half was worse than conceding at the start of the first half. The first half was United didn't expect it. Whereas the second half was, you know exactly what Leeds are going to do at the start of this half. They did it at the start of the last half. Oh, shit. You've let them do it again. That is where Ten Hag, I think, would be most pissed off about. Now, Robert there with a good comment saying, underestimation is a mindset you don't easily shake off. I would say that United, I mean, what was it? Crystal Palace, I think. No, was it Forest? Maybe Forest away was our earliest goal this season. That was like 6 minutes. I think Palace was around about 7 minutes as well. I wouldn't say United are the fastest starters in games, typically. But to do that, to let Leeds do that, it's just really poor from United. And I tell you what, that game yesterday would really have zapped some energy from our legs. We were playing every 3 days. That's what happens when you're competing in all competitions and you're having a successful season, right? I'm not complaining about the fixture pile-up. But we don't have the squad depth to... Well, we know we don't. It's not Captain Hindsight speaking. We don't have the squad depth to really sort of navigate all of these games and keep that same energy level, that same focus, that same control up. And yesterday we really saw that. There's a few comments down here. Vicky, you're saying, Sam, what do you think Ten Hag will do with the next game regarding Fred? Fred. This is what I said about Fred after the game, right? I said, I mean, it's true. Fred either puts in like a 10 out of 10, like he did against Spurs away. What was it? The other week, we put in an absolute storm of a performance as well. It was after Casemiro got sent off against Crystal Palace. The last 10 minutes, we were like, Fred is a monster. And then he goes and does that. He very much is a player of extremes. That's what I think. He's either very, very good or he's just completely and utterly off it. And I'm surprised that it was yesterday where he was, because it was a game that was very, very frantic. It was played at a ridiculous pace. It kind of suits Fred's game. Those environments are where Fred normally plays well. But it was that lack of control. It was like we had to get it to Rashford when he was playing. By the way, Rashford on the right hand side. Can we stop it? Can we stop it, please? I know he's played like a couple of games well there for United, but mate, he scored through the middle. Great, by the way, lovely cross from Delo. Don't think Delo was 100% there, but Wan-Bissaka was missing with illness. I think he was. So fingers crossed that Wan-Bissaka's all right. I thought Delo looked okay, but Delo's not quite there yet. He definitely isn't quite there yet. And unfortunately for him, that was exactly where Leeds, it was it. And what was his name? Nonto? I think it was Nonto. And he was their best player. So it's a shame that he went up against him. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. George, you're saying the games are catching up with us. I mean, you could say that, but we were 2-0 down in the second half there at the pace of that game, and we still came back to 2-2, and we had chances to win it. So, yeah, you could say the games are catching up with us, but that was just we didn't plug ourselves in until we were 1-0 down in each half, and then obviously 2-0 down by the second half. We just didn't start quick enough. And I don't particularly think that's to do with all this games, because we had enough energy, we had enough drive, and that's where the positives come from that game. Like as much as Ten Hag's going to be pissed off with the fact that we did concede early in both halves, there was real character to come back from 2-0 down to get to the position we were in. There was a real positive in seeing Jadon Sancho come back. Now, I think that Sancho has got to be starting on the left, and I think Rashford's got to be starting through the middle against Leeds away. We know the weaknesses and the mistakes we saw here. It's going to be even harder at Ellen Road. The pace that we saw there, shit, it's going to be the exact same at Ellen Road. It's going to be a tough, tough game. There's a comment there from Anderson. You're saying talk about Sabitzer. I think yesterday was a harsh game I haven't got a picture of him, so I'll pull a picture of Fred back up. Was a harsh game to judge the overall qualities of Sabitzer, right? I think it was a game which, I mean, talk about introducing you to the pace of the Premier League. That was right there. I think that was the most, other than, let me know in the comments below, what games this season have been played at the pace of that game yesterday in the Premier League. One that will jump out for me is probably last half an hour away at Arsenal. That was sort of relentless. It was going and going and going, and it just didn't stop. And that game there, it didn't really stop from the first minute to the last minute. Or you're calling it a baptism of fire? Absolutely. I don't think there's going to be a game that's going to have a bigger pace to it than that one right there. A couple of you in the comments are mentioning Arsenal as well, and yeah, that's the only one that sort of stands out to me. I think Sabitzer will definitely be able to do a job inside this midfield. I think he'll probably do more than a job. I think he's a very decent midfielder. But yesterday, he had no space to do anything. Couple of decent shots from him. That left foot perler, good save. If he had just got it a couple of feet left. And let me see what you're saying down here. All of you are talking about Arsenal away. I think Arsenal away is probably the only one I would compare the pace of the game to. Man, look at that. Sigmund. Santa Sigmund is back indeed. How you doing, buddy? Haven't seen you for a little while. Maybe you've just been away on work. Gifting 5 memberships. One absolute don. And Alex, you've joined in too. 2 more Godfathers alongside Gungshi. Need to get like a photo, like all the all the Godfathers just sitting there alongside each other, like some sort of mafia photo. Elwin, Raymondo, Steve, Derek, you're the lucky 4 there, and one more. Can't see your name down there. James, you've got one as well. Or you're asking me to talk about Sabitzer as well. And yeah, I think I'm looking forward to seeing him play in the United shirt. I enjoyed some elements of his game, but I don't particularly. I don't know what we're going to do away at Ellen Road. We know exactly what we have to do, and we have to. How do you play through the midfield? What tactical tweaks do you think? What tactical tweaks do you think we have to do away at Ellen Road to make sure that game yesterday doesn't get repeated? Ultimately, it's 2 points dropped. Leeds are in 17th place on the edge of the relegation zone. Just sacked their manager. Lost 7 games in a row. Only won 2 in the last 17, and we have won 13 in a row at Old Trafford. So it is 2 points dropped. As the game progressed and it went on, it was a good comeback. But exactly that. That's what I got in my head. The Godfathers all sitting around the Last Supper. Someone's got to help me with Photoshop for that bad boy. Gungshi, there we are. There's the man himself. Are you the OG Godfather? I don't know. You're all OG Godfathers, all of you. Vicky as well, man. All of you. Male and Godfathers, Godmothers, just gods, demigods. It's like Ragnarok. Yopi, Liam, Avad, Fidel, and Liam, you're down there. And Vicky, you've gifted 5 as well. That's amazing from you. Nice to see you back. Pravesh, Zahir, Abhijit, Nur, and Yusuf, the lucky 5 down there. Look, this is a worry for me. Man, it's been a worry, man. You can't take Casemiro and Eriksen out of a team and not expect a knock-on effect, right? It is what it is. You're taking take the 2 best midfielders out of any team. They will likely play different. Take Rodri and De Bruyne away from Man City. What's going to happen to that midfield? Take Odegaard and Partey out of Arsenal. What's going to happen to that midfield? There will always be a drop. There will always be a drop. I was impressed with the fact that we came back. And I was really pissed off with the fact that we just, away at Eden Road, we have to make sure first 15 minutes, head screwed on. Do not concede early. Do not let Leeds control the game, because if we're chasing it against Leeds, that plays right into their hands. Look, Thapillo, I'm going to be running through all of my predictions for the starting 11. That's going to be going out on Saturday morning, as is always the case. What else are we speaking about? Well, let's move on to the big talking point this morning. And that is, of course, the latest on Manchester United's new owners, right? I've just had a little run through the game there. There's plenty more that we could talk about, but for me, the big focus and the most important talking point is getting new owners in. Now, yesterday, I covered the breaking news story from Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail, suggesting that there is Qatari interest in a full takeover of Manchester United. I have already covered everything previously about a minority takeover from QSI, Qatar Sports Investment, who, of course, own PSG. Let me bring you the latest this morning from James Ducker from the Telegraph, Martyn Ziegler from the Times, Mike Keegan from the Daily, everything. So you don't have to read it. I'll run through it for you. Damon, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you there joining as a member. Let me know where you're watching from. Julie, it's something I agree with. It's something I agree with, and I'll run through. And Vicky saying you're welcome for the gifted memberships. Make sure you join the Telegram community. Indeed. Thank you very much, Vicky. And thank you very much for letting everyone know. Let's run through the latest for you. All right. This is coming from James Ducker and from Tom Morgan from the Times. Sorry, the Telegraph, sorry. Manchester United buyers have got 10 days to submit their bids. Now, let's find out a little bit more information on that. Takeover offers for Manchester United are due to be tabled within the next 10 days. So what's that? By next Sunday, we should be here as a community having conversations around the genuine options for our new owners. We can probably get to a point where we can have open discussions about 3 or 4 potential new owners, and we can try and whittle it down as to who we want to own our football club. With the Glazer family still open to a potential deal that could be completed by April. Now, of course, the Glazers want they want an offer beyond 5 billion. Who cares how much they want, man? Who gives a shit? Who else is in the running? This is where we're interested, right? US bidders, including some of those who inquired about Chelsea and a mystery Arabic investment group, are seen as leading the running. As detailed by the Telegraph Sport last month, candidates in America, the Middle East, and even Asia have privately expressed interest. This is an interesting one about Dubai. Suggestions that Dubai is interested have been dismissed by insiders who point out the nation has been propped up by funds from Abu Dhabi, which owns Man City. Instead, industry specialists point to Middle East countries where investment interest in football is fiercest, Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Now, we know full well about this Qatari interest, and that is what we're going to be speaking about now. I think there's somebody else down there. Indeed, man. Look at that. Freddie, man. How you doing, buddy? You've just gifted 5 memberships. Who are the lucky 5 down here? We've got Matt, James, Johnny, Thapello, and I don't see the other one. Chris. And then look at that one. There's one membership from Pravesh. Thank you very much, Pravesh. What a dude. Neil, you are great, mate. Every single one. All of you, please join the community on Telegram. Please do. I'd love to have you on board there. But James Ducker and Tom Morgan from the Telegraph saying US bidders and that private mystery Arabic investment group, they are leading the running alongside, of course, Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. Now, in terms of US bidders, I've run through that. I did a video on Harrison Blitzer a good old long time ago. And I believe it's probably going to be them. We haven't got a full confirmation on that just yet. That's a little bit of speculation. But heading over to Martyn Ziegler from the Times, this is where it gets interesting. Because so many people, I think fairly, rightly, sort of questioned whether or not the article from Mike Keegan was correct and true. Because he's not one of, I suppose, your tier one journalists. Martyn Ziegler is. And he's confirming that there is interest from Qatar in buying Manchester United. But this is where I have to admit it gets a little bit confusing as to what's going on. Let me run through these. There's like 3 articles and a couple of comments I'm going to read through here. Give me 5 minutes of your time, then I'll head back down to the comments. So I apologize if I miss any super chats, but let me read this out first. All right. So Martyn Ziegler is confirming that there is interest in buying Manchester United from a Qatari fund. Right. This is what he's saying. A fund linked to the Qatari royal family has expressed an interest in buying Manchester United, with a bid now under consideration before next week's deadline. Documents circulated by Rain state the potential buyers have until Friday, February the 17th to table the offer, with Qatari sources insisting that a decision has not yet been made. That said, the same sources believe an offer could well be forthcoming. The Qataris have already joined other groups, blah, blah, blah. So, let me see what else it says down here. There's some interesting. On Wednesday, Qatari sources insisted the talks with United were part of the same project, although it is not QSI involved in those discussions. QSI, that's Qatar Sports Investment, is a subsidiary of the Qatar Investment Authority. And this is where it gets confusing, right? Because you've got Qatar as the state, you've got QSI, Qatar Sports Investment. They're using state funds to invest in sports, anything around the world. Then you've got Qatar Investment Authority, separate, also using state funds to invest all around the world. And I think there's billions in the UK economy already. Like, I think they're invested in banks. I think they're invested in Sainsbury's. Their fingers are already many, many pies. And it's that difference between QSI, Qatar Sports Investment, who own PSG, and QIA. Now, according to Martyn Ziegler, QSI is a subsidiary of the Qatar Investment Authority. And then on the contrary, we've got this. This is Adam Crafton from The Athletic, saying an interesting thing happened recently when I reported Qatari interest in Manchester United. The QIA, the wealth fund, of which Al Khelaifi, of course, Nasser Al Khelaifi, who is the chairman of PSG, he's a board member of QIA, and I think he's the chairman of QSI as well. As I told you it was confusing. I apologize if I'm speaking too fast. QIA got in touch to point out an inaccuracy in the piece, which said that QSI was a subsidiary of QIA. So this is where I said it gets interesting and it gets a little bit confusing, because Martyn Ziegler up here, right, is confirming that there is an interest from Qatar in buying Manchester United. He's saying that interest is coming from QIA, Qatar Investment Authority, which has links to the ruling family, Al Thani family in Qatar. Adam Crafton is saying QIA have reached out to him to say, no, QIA and QSI are not linked. They're not subsidiaries of each other. So they're trying to make sure that there's a little bit of a distinction between the two. Right? So that's where it gets confusing, because we don't know where this Qatari interest is. One thing we can confirm now, right? The talks there are confirmed by Martyn Ziegler. Mike Keegan has released this update saying that Manchester United have already opened talks with Qatar and there is an interest from there. We don't know exactly where this is coming from. And that's, I suppose, what we're waiting for over the next 10 days now. Because if it's QSI, Qatar Sports Investment, it can only be a minority stake because they own PSG. That's a fact. However, if it's QIA, they could probably bring out the lawyers that could somehow separate the two. They could create a distinction between the two, which would probably get around the rules. In the same way that Red Bull owns Leipzig and Salzburg, and they've played each other in the same competition in UEFA. Or is it just going to be a private sovereign investment group from Qatar. They're your three options, right? It's either going to be a private consortium from Qatar. Who knows who would be leading that and the names around it? There is no name attached to that. It could be Qatar Sports Investment, who own PSG, and that would mean minority investment. Or it could be Qatar Investment Authority. And whether or not there is a distinction between QIA and QSI, trust me, man, QSI, MI6, MI5, I have no idea. SAS, how many other things you got? It's confusing. It really is confusing. But the only thing that we can say with absolute confirmation, there is interest in Manchester United from Qatar. We don't know whether that's going to be minority, majority, or where from just yet. And that will come out over the next 10 days. So I said that's pretty much the update for you. And then look, just to add more confusion here, you've not Adam Crafton. This is Jamie Gardner from Press Association saying this. Press Association understands that Qatari Sports Investments is the Qatari group interested in buying Manchester United. So he's actually saying from Press Association sources that it's actually QSI who are coming forward. And if that is the case, it can only be a minority. Luke, you're saying QIA work under QSI? Nope. That is the opposite of what Adam Crafton has been told, who contacted him directly to say no. QSI is not a subsidiary of QIA. So this is what I mean, man. It really... Sorry, there's quite a lot of funny comments coming in. But this is what I mean. As far as we know, they are subsidiaries, but it sounds like Qatar are trying to create some sort of distinction between the two. And maybe that's what's going to come next. It's confusing. I promise you, I'm trying to keep my head on, get my head around everything that's happening here and trying to bring it to you. But I hope I hope I've helped you understand it a little bit more. To get like a 30-second summary, there is interest in Manchester United from Qatar. And at this point, we don't know whether that's going to be minority or majority. Leave it at that and you won't be confusing yourself. Let's wait until next Friday to see where this bid comes in. Will it be a full offer? And where will it be from? We'll know far, far more by the end of next Friday. But this is a story that is continuing to develop. And yeah, there's no doubt that Qatar is interested in Manchester United. There is no doubt, as is confirmed by James Ducker from The Telegraph, there are US consortiums interested in buying Manchester United. On top of that, you've got Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. And then maybe there's some others too. So that's three that we know will probably be coming forward. And maybe there's going to be more. I don't know. But woof. I feel like I've got a bit of a head. It is a head screw, isn't it? It really, really is. Dan, you're saying, when's the deadline again? The deadline, as far as we know, let's bring this one up here, is this. The deadline is the 17th of February. 10 days. Well, 8 days now. This is more confusing than when Phil Jones was at the club. I didn't say it was easy. I didn't say it was easy. But there is a possibility of Qatari ownership of Manchester United. All right. That is a possibility. Just in the same way that there is a possibility at this point of Dubai, of Saudi Arabia, of Ineos, of US consortiums. No one is ruled out at this particular moment in time. But by next Friday, Ineos at this point are still the only formalized public. Hello, we're going to put a bid in. And you know what's really dangerous about all of this? Vicky, I can just see your super chat right there. That's very well timed. Talking about the Super League, I would say this, right? Let's quickly talk about this because you can't ignore it. The new iteration of the Super League has been announced. And I believe, let's run through what it is. I'm pretty sure it's like a 60-team multi-division. Let's have a look. There you go. A multi-division competition of 60 to 80 teams with no permanent members and a minimum of 14 games per club per season. This is not the first iteration of the Super League. You know full well. Oh, man, I remember that. I genuinely thought that was the end of Manchester United for for like a 48-hour period. I remember when it first came out, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to. I was just like, this will be the death of the club. And it was huge uproar, huge protest, not just in Manchester United, Premier League fans, all United. I remember the big protests they're having outside Chelsea when Petr Cech came out. And then the Premier League clubs started to pull away. And ultimately, it collapsed. Now, the one thing I would say here, right, to maybe put you at ease a little bit about the European Super League, is I want to go and remind you of this statement. This statement was released by the Premier League and the FA when the first European Super League happened, when the Premier League teams pulled out and it collapsed. This is what they said at that time, back in 2021. They said 6 clubs involved in proposals to form the Super League acknowledged their actions were a mistake. The 6 clubs involved in the proposal have today acknowledged once again that their actions were a mistake and have reconfirmed their commitment to the Premier League and the future of the English game. As a gesture of goodwill, the clubs have collectively agreed to make a contribution of 22 million. This is the important bit here. Furthermore, the clubs have agreed to support rule changes so that any similar actions in the future would lead to a 30-point reduction and a £25 million fine. That's important. So after the first European Super League collapsed, the 6 teams involved, who was it? United, City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool. Can't remember who the 6th was. Just got out of my head. Who cares? They agreed to new rule changes, which would mean a 30-point reduction. Now, I'm not saying that rules out any idea that any Premier League team is going to go in here, but this Super League is being backed by 3 clubs. Spurs, there you go. Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus. Let me quickly explain why. They're fucked. Financially, they are screwed. Juve have just sacked their entire board and have just been docked points because of all the financial book cooking that they've been doing. Barcelona have been selling off percentages of their entire future revenue to try and get their books back in order after they spunked so much money over the last few years on the likes of Coutinho, of Dembele, on Griezmann. They're fucked. They're poor. They are screwed. They need a huge influx of cash. And Real Madrid, well, you know what they've done. You know what they're doing with the stadium. All 3 of those clubs are desperate to get a new guaranteed source of income. Nobody in the Premier League is. Man, we are eating good over here. It's a shame. Genuinely, it is a shame that the scale of money involved in the Premier League compared to all other leagues is just incomparable. It's almost like, the disparity between Real Madrid and Barcelona and the rest of La Liga. That's kind of what it is now with the Premier League and the rest of Europe's leagues. Like, the Premier League is by far and away the biggest and best amount of money that we got to spend. But shit, we don't need to do a damn thing. The Premier League clubs need to do absolutely nothing. Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus do. That's why they are the 3 leading clubs. Apparently, they got in talks with 50-odd clubs. Man, they are desperate. Desperate. And United, stay away from it. Now, I can't rule out the fact that United might go back into it. And obviously, we've got to be scared about what the Glazers could do here. And honestly, if the first Super League had happened, the Glazers would not be selling the club. We would not be up for sale right now. That is absolutely 100% for sure. If the Super League had happened originally, the Glazers would never have sold us in the first place. And that's a terrible idea in itself. Fatty, my man. How you doing there, buddy? You've gifted 5 memberships. Ray, Matt, Hickey, Yas. You are the lucky 4. I can't see the 5th. What Don? One absolute Don. Let me read your comments out down here about what you think on the Super League, on everyone involved in it. Be really interested to hear your points. T, what are you saying, sir? They're living on 2-minute noodles. while we're feasting on lobster and champagne. I do think I wouldn't say it's unfair. I mean, it is unfair technically that there is such disparity between the Premier League and the amount of money involved in it compared to the other leagues. But I mean, that's kind of always been the case. I think the gap is larger than ever now, for sure. It's not our fucking fault. It's not. And we do not need the European Super League. I'm not particularly entirely happy with all the rule changes that have been happening in UEFA. I don't personally think they should have taken away goals. I thought away goals were such a crucial part of the allure of European football, of how you had to play differently away from home compared to at home. I like that. I like the jeopardy that away goals brought. But that's kind of a personal preference. And I think there's some people that actually think it's a good thing. Although I kind of disagree. Martin, you're saying Juventus might get more. Mate, Juventus have what? They had the bribing the refs in 2006. They got relegated, I think. They've had a huge points deduction. Juve, man, they love they love a good controversy. And no Premier League team needs to get involved in this. And as I said, as this statement confirmed from the Premier League, if any Premier League team does try and get involved in this second reiteration of the Super League, they're going to be getting a 30-point deduction and a 25 mil fine. Dave, you're saying, Sam, I was awarded a month's membership. I do appreciate it, but I'm already a member. It's a waste, as someone else could have had it. Oh, man, I've no idea. When it comes to membership gifts, by the way, remember that. It's a big buzzword. They are gifts. You can't pick and choose who they go to. YouTube is just like, no, you can have it, you can have it, you can have it. It's amazing generosity from the community. I really, really say that every single time. But you can't really choose who it's going to. Last couple of minutes. But listen, I can be here for another 10, 15 minutes. There's no rush whatsoever. Anybody got any questions? Fire them in. It can be about the Super League. It can be about the Leeds game. It can be about Qatari owners or any other new owners. Ask me whatever you want for the last 5 minutes of the show. Let me see what you're saying down here. They love the black and white prisoner tie. That is only relevant if said teams. I mean, come on. Yeah. All right. Chelsea is going to be leaving. That's quite a funny idea, really. We're going to leave the Premier League and just join. Cool. You just go and join a different league altogether. All right. Different league altogether. Let me say, bring Barry out for the last 5. Barry didn't come out on demand. I want to get Barry on here for an interview at some point. I might save that for when United have new owners. That shirt looks a bit big for old Eric. I need to sort his face out as well. I'll improve that. I'll improve the mannequin for next time. That's what I'll do. Let me see what else you're saying in the comments here. Thought Pellistri brought some balance to the right-hand side. I thought Pellistri did well, man. We've always been a little bit confused as to why he hasn't particularly been used that much. Bring the mic over there. I think he's going to be getting plenty of game time. And Anthony might be missing for the game away at Leeds as well. So we don't know. Pucker pie or battered sausage? Battered sausage all day. No offense, pucker pies. Come on. Bully, we're not doing... I enjoy doing the ratings, but the ratings take up a long part of the show. And that's kind of why I've semi-avoided them, because there's so many talking points. I don't just want to get stuck in a 10, 15-minute player ratings bit. Maybe we can sort of bring that to the community. Maybe we can think about that. Mate, dude, we were missing Casemiro. We were missing Eriksen. Without Casemiro and Eriksen in, Manchester United, this is what I'll bring this up here. Without Eriksen and Casemiro in, we are a bit of a transition team. We play really quickly from front to back. With Casemiro and Eriksen in, we have the ability to slow it down and just play through teams. We didn't have that against Leeds yesterday. I didn't think so. Prosby saying, what are you going to talk about on midday show today? I'm not quite sure. I feel like fans need a little bit more information and clarity on the Qatari ownership. But I don't know whether that might be over confusing. Too many cooks spoil the broth. I'm not sure whether I'll do that yet. Do you think Lindelof is a valid option to have? No, I don't think he does, but he is. But I think he could well be. We have no alternatives. We are not scraping the barrel is the wrong way to describe it, but we are stretched. This squad is at its absolute limit. Injuries to McTominay and to Eriksen and to Casemiro. That's 3 midfielders out of a midfield which has got 5 midfielders in. We don't have options. Kobbie Mainoo is probably more likely to come on, I think, than Victor Lindelof. Best film for an Oscar. Look, if you haven't seen, what is it called? Everything, Everywhere, All at Once? I think that's what it's called. Everything. Yeah. Watch that film. Me and my mate watched it last week and ended up talking about it for an hour after. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but it's a sort of film that really makes you think. And it's a brilliant, very, very unique film. And I think Michelle Yeoh's up for an Oscar. The dude who was a supporting actor, who I won't tell you a spoiler about that either, but really happy for him. I hope he wins that too. Just that's a cracking film. Sam, when do you think Ten Hag will start making more use of Mainoo and Iqbal? Probably not against Leeds. Let's be honest. That game yesterday was wildfire. Ten Hag he looked towards a little bit of experience rather than youth at that point because he didn't feel that it was the right scenario, I suppose, to bring in youth, and that's why he went for Victor Lindelof. If the Super League had gone ahead, what would I have done with the channel? What a grim idea. I don't know. I would have massively struggled. I genuinely thought it was the death of United. The idea that we're going into a league that you can't get relegated from. It's just, what's the point? What's the point? That was grim. I didn't have Casemiro, actually. Everyone around me had Casemiro, but I'll tell you what I did have. I had Marcus Rashford triple captain this week. I've been waiting. I got it right. Go on, Sam. Why did Ten Hag wait so long to make changes when it was clearly wasn't working by half time? I don't think he waited that long. What was it? Sancho and Weghorst came on what, the 62nd minute? 60th? Thereabouts. It's very average, very, very, very normal. And I think there's still half an hour left in the game. I don't particularly think he made changes that late. And if you really, really want to start picking holes in that, I mean, then fair play to, not just you, Ant, but fair play to anybody who really, Ten Hag could have made that change 4 minutes, 5 minutes earlier. I mean, you can start picking holes like that if you want to. Gungshi, I love seeing Jason score yesterday. Jason Sancho, my favourite. Nearly as good as Jadon, but not quite as good. Members' vids are indeed incoming. They are, I reckon, end of next week. I need to figure out the exact. There's going to probably be 1, maybe 2 per, well, at least 1 a week. We'll call it that. Maybe not 2 per week. I'm not going to completely commit to that. But there's definitely be 1 per week. Ten Hag does need a neck. I tried to get his neck on, but then the mask doesn't stay on. It's really annoying. Play Ranger could do in a Telegram poll. Yeah, that's true enough. If it's QIA, does that mean the original owners stay in charge? Honestly, I wish I could give you a little bit more clarity on that. But what you're effectively looking at there is a situation where they're going to have very good lawyers and very clear structures that show the people who are in charge. Hypothetically, if QIA buy Manchester United, the people in charge of that are not the same people who are in charge of Qatar Sports Investment and PSG. I've no doubt that they've got the lawyers that could do it. No doubt whatsoever. They've got enough money. But it will be a very difficult situation, a very tricky situation. Mate, 50+1, eh? The dream, the absolute dream. It was a big, big part of the movement straight after the European Super League collapsed the first time. I remember speaking to Matt Ford from Right So United We Stand, also works out in Germany. I think I did an interview with him. That's still on the channel, actually, about 50+1, about the concept of it, fan ownership. It's the dream. It's the German business model. It's the German football model, football ownership model. I don't think that's coming to the Premier League anytime soon. Gravy on your mash, or your bangers, or your mash. You slap it all over. You don't choose. Come on. We're generous with the gravy. Goes all over. Absolutely. It's a quick question, Sam. I watched some of your very old videos, and it was someone else doing the talking. And there was more people. I used to have a few faces on here. I remember at the very start, I had Amy, who I think works for Paddy Power now. Had Colin as well. Ira used to do some fan cams with me. Big up Ira. Dan, I used to have. There's a few faces I've had on. But I don't know. I just kind of switched it back to me. Because I don't know. When you're doing your own thing, you can rely on yourself, and it's kind of always a bit of an issue with people who are running their own businesses, running their own stuff. You know you can rely on yourself, but it will reach a point where for it to not just dominate and completely take over your life, you have to step away from it and trust other people to come in. I've not been able to do that with the videos just yet, but I'm aiming towards that in the future. But I'm very, very happy with the way everything has gone. Vicky, we were getting on so well until you said that. Mint sauce, just leave it in the bin. Not even with pork. Like is it Bramley's? Like the Bramley's one that's in like the jar? Nah, man, don't need that. Fresh one, yeah. We're gonna have a little conversation around fresh one. Mint sauce with lamb anyway. Not pork. Pork is apple. Anyway, sod that. Boo. DP, you're asking, how can Eric Ten Hag make changes for Sunday? Love that he talked about this being a long-term project. Ten Hag's the best thing to happen to us since Fergie. Why disagree with that? I don't know how he makes changes for Sunday. And as I said, that game there, Leeds, that really would have taken out some energy from our legs. Already stretched, already games every 3 days. And guys, we've got Barcelona away on Thursday. Barca away. And we've got this game 4 days before. After that game there, we know what we're in for on Sunday. How in the world do you navigate both of those? I don't really know. Kieran, ribeye, without a question. That's not even a question. That's not even a question. Rudy, good question there. Random. Go to Australasia. That's probably one of my favorite places in Manchester. I think it's near the is it near the National Football Museum? Anyway, I don't know. It's got a really cool entrance. You kind of go underground. Amazing cocktails in there and really good food. I wouldn't say it's the best restaurant, but it's a nice experience. Go to Australasia. That's what I always recommend. And Steve, nice to see you there, joining as a member. The first leg is indeed in Spain. Casemiro can play in the Barcelona game. Yeah, that's not a problem. And we need him back for Barcelona. But geez, look, that was a good show there. I'd like to answer any questions at the end. That's why I want to do a little bit more member-only content like that, where you can just ask me whatever you want. A little bit more informal, I suppose, rather than the live shows. But thank you very much for joining in today. The only fact that we know now, there is Qatari interest. Following on from Mike Keegan yesterday, there is definitely Qatari interest in United. We don't know the scale of it, whether it's minority, whether it's majority, whether it's coming from QSI, QIA, or the ruling family. We don't know that yet. We're waiting for updates on that. I'll bring you those updates as and when they happen. Leeds, ultimately it's 2 points dropped, but at the very least, we saw some character. I'm trying to take a positive from the game. The big positive is Jadon Sancho coming back in and scoring in the Premier League. Let me know what you think about everything in the comments below, as you always do. I'll be back here at lunchtime today, and then tomorrow's Friday is map day. Another week. Jeez. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Thank you all for your comments, to Fatty, to Vicky, to Gungshi, to Alex, to everybody wonderfully who gifted memberships from this community to bring others into the community. If you are new to the community, make sure you do join the Telegram community. It is free, and if you remember, check the community tab on YouTube. You'll get access to the members-only group chat. That's the only place you'll get that link. Take it easy, everyone. Have a good day.